Hey there, gorgeous souls, and welcome to this message. Always grateful to have you showing up live. And as usual, I would absolutely love for you guys to join in the conversation. I want to hear your direct personal experiences to share with us all. My purpose for these messages is to just kind of start the conversation on things that I'm actually really working through in my own life in hope that it actually really supports you on your journey of your own self-empowerment and fulfillment. So today, I really wanted to talk to you guys about congruence. And I want to talk about basically my whole journey and what I've been up to and how me getting back out in the public eye more than I have over these last 10 months, which has been a very introspective part of my journey, about how me stepping forward is actually the next stage of my path of congruence within myself. And when I talk about congruence, I'm really talking about being your most authentic self, right? Like being able to be clear on who that is and align fully with it, right? That's congruence. That's living in integrity. And albeit that there are stages of that on our evolution, we're not always that aware of who it is that we actually are. And it takes experiences to actually learn about deeper levels of who we actually are so that we have something to align with. And my journey has been very externally focused and finding my identity through the eyes of others in my life. And basically that has had its benefits and drawbacks, as I can assure you, if you haven't actually experienced it yourself, which most people have, you can kind of get some clarity over where there might be some drawbacks with that. But my path of personal development and self-empowerment has really started with awareness over who I am. And I believe that any transformation has to first start with any of that awareness. So today I wanted to talk to you guys about the title, which is The Path of Congruence equals finding comfort in what confronts you. So if we're on a path of congruence, and I'll talk from my own journey, but following on from my message yesterday, if you haven't watched that, go back and watch that one and you'll know what I'm talking about. But basically, your power in this life, your gift, what you're here to contribute, all stems from who you actually are at your core. And we go through life and we pick up all these pieces of who we think we should be in order to get the love, acceptance, approval from starting with our families and, getting into our peer groups and society and anyone else we want to impress or connect with. And over time, we kind of muddy the water of where we end and another person begins and who it is that we actually are and what we stand for and what we stand against, and something that's coming from this very internally driven certain place, not imprinted on by external people that we've given our power to, but actually knowing who we are and being very clear and congruent with that. And so basically, I wanted to share kind of what's been most in this next stage of my journey, what's kind of come forth for me even over this last 24 hours where I've got back out online, and I'm very committed to showing up on this next level of congruence with me. But basically, I had to retreat back and go into some very deep introspective work. Back in August, I had some very out there experiences on an energetic front that were quite confronting and alerted me to a whole other layer and level of existence that I hadn't been aware of. I hadn't had personal direct experience with previously. And I knew at that time I definitely invited that in for myself and welcomed the challenge and welcomed you know, what that would be in terms of how it confronted my own congruence. And I had to retreat to go into this very subtle realm of why I was doing what I was doing, why I was making every single little choice, every little word that I would speak, every way of being, tuning into how things really made me feel on the inside, rather than maybe ignoring and pushing down experiences and molding myself to what would create maybe harmony in my external environment, or, you know, get, again, the acceptance or approval or whatever. And these, you know, this has been a long journey for me. I know any of you guys who've followed my stuff for a while, you know that, right? I've been on this journey for, like over 10, 11 years now of personal development. And it's all kind of this theme of getting clear and authentic and congruent, right? And basically, from that place of deepening into the subtle levels, it was just another layer of the onion, or several layers of the onion that were that I needed to get connected to in order to become aware of when I was showing up in congruence and when I was in incongruence, right? And this, me getting back out into the public eye and getting on these lives and putting some posts out, they are the next stage of me testing my congruence, right? And so I've become like this very sensitive instrument over these last few months as to really not being able to deceive myself about anything that's incongruent in terms of how I show up. And, you know, so in alignment with that, this is the message that came through for me today, which was, you know, instead of trying to avoid the things that are confronting for us in order to maintain some comfort, which is what most of us are doing, it's actually flipping the switch on that. Because anytime we avoid things that confront us, right? And confront means it's truthful and it's a hard truth, right? Anytime we avoid that awareness and we opt for trying to stay comfortable, and I'm using quote unquote comfortable because I think that being incongruent is actually highly uncomfortable, but we might deceive ourselves into it being comfort. Anytime we do that, we're putting ourselves into a state of incongruence. And whenever you're in incongruence, you're out of congruence, you're out of integrity with your core, you cannot be the gift that you were meant to be in this world. You cannot connect and deepen into the highest quality of loving partnerships and relationships and friendships and all the rest of it when you're not actually being all of who you are. Because who are those people in relationship with? They're in relationship with an idea or an aspect of maybe who you are, or a facade of who you are, but not actually genuinely who you actually are. And that's a very lonely place to be. And believe me, I know that one very, very well. And so yesterday was my first day back out in action on a path that I'm fully committed to, and wanting to, choosing to be consistent and courageous and committed to just showing up and allowing, you know, Source to work its magic through me, to be able to be comfortable being confronted with my sensitivity to when it feels out of alignment. And I'll give you a personal example that's just happened over this first day of showing up, right? So yesterday I did my Facebook Live. It felt in complete flow, in complete congruence, and amazing. Then what I'd committed to before getting into day one yesterday was I decided I wanted to do a live stream with you guys and also put a written post out and use those as my avenues to building my contribution and my consistent effort towards that, and also building my congruence and awareness of where things are coming from when I share them. And for the purpose of purifying my own channel so that I can actually get out of my own way, or my fears or my insecurities, and show up as a pure vessel connected to something much bigger than just myself or my own my own fears or insecurities and actually be of value and contribution, right? And that is what my purpose is. That's my mission, to share messages that will inspire something deep within you, your most congruent self, so that you are inspired to take actions in alignment with who you actually are, so you can actually give the gifts you uniquely are here to give, right? And when I was, my live streams, that is me in flow, but I wanted to also challenge myself to put out some more written content for you guys. And and so yesterday I was like, okay, that was day one, and I wrote the post that I put out, and it came partly from my journaling. And then because it was in connection to my relationship, so me and my intimate partner, or my fiance now, he and I put those pictures out as well. And I kind of felt like, I didn't really announce that we were engaged and all the rest of it, because it all happened back in October during a time where I was in retreat mode, right? Not on social media or any of those things. And anyway, there was something in me, like when I wrote it and put it together, and there was something in me that was like, no, I don't really feel like that's quite it, right? It was this combination of what was genuinely written from my journaling, but coupled with putting out some pictures from our relationship and magic moments in our connection. And there was something there in me that said, no, that's not quite it. That doesn't feel like it's coming from this really pure place. But through the experience, because I'm back new to this, right? New to this level of sensitivity in terms of my own congruence within and why I'm doing what I'm doing, I ignored that and I put the post out, and still that something didn't feel 100% pure, right? It felt a little bit more about, I don't know, like where the incongruence was because my partner and I had been working through some pretty deep challenges in our dynamics, right? Like talking about like inherited generational patterns, right, of the masculine and the feminine and how they can be wounded, and going through this deep introspective work. And those, I'm not a massive fan of posts that just paint the picture of just all perfection and no challenge, because I think that's just one side of the story, right? And through the wording that I put in that post, it felt congruent, but just something felt like it wasn't the right timing, or it was a bit off, because the pictures painted only one version of our story, right? And so it took me going through that experience to realize and wake up this morning and just go, you know what, that wasn't quite it. And I was talking with my partner this morning about it, and he said, well, why don't you just take that post down? Like, if it doesn't feel congruent to you, why don't you just delete it? And I was like, no, I just don't like when I see that, because I feel like it's hiding something. When I see people like put a post out and then suddenly it's disappeared, like without any explanation, I feel like there's a disconnect there. I feel like there's something like another incongruence. It's like, well, what are you trying to hide? Like, why did you put it out and then take it down, right? So that didn't feel quite right to me. And I was feeling through this, and I was like playing with the idea, and I'm like, oh, maybe that's just me being black and white, and maybe I should just do that. And then I realized, what am I here to do? I'm here to share my genuine, in the moment, personal experience with the reality of our own personal development and taking responsibility for that. Not just the highlights, right? But also the real challenges and how we're dealing with it now, because I don't actually see people doing that in the real moment. I do see people, expressing and sharing their challenges down the track and down the timeline. And I'm so grateful for people sharing their stories and their journeys that we can all learn from. And I also see people, playing the victim out there, like a lot of us can do. That's part of the human experience, and putting out what's real for them, before they're actually really ready. And that's okay. That's part of the learning experience as well. But what I'm really committed to is showing up my most congruent self with you guys and letting you in on the fact that I'm actually here to serve and contribute and create messages that I feel might touch you in the heart and inspire that really true core part of you to come forth and share it and have the courage to actually step into that and be courageously vulnerable with the world around you, because we need more people who can show up and show us what that is so that we can actually have the courage to, lead ourselves down that path with them, right? So that we can actually have truth in our relationships and our connections and depth. So I didn't feel like it would be congruent of me to not share right now my lack of congruence and my experience of that and my sensitivity to that on my journey with you guys. So I feel like that's me walking my talk instead of avoiding, which we most of us, human nature is to avoid pain and seek pleasure, right? And sometimes if we want to live a life that is beyond just the default of our humanity and something that is connected to something much larger than just ourselves, something that is evolving us towards love, towards everything that we've ever yearned for to experience within ourselves and in relationship to others and live purposefully, then we actually need to take the path of congruence, which is finding comfort in that which confronts us. Because if we're unwilling to face what confronts us, we'll never have our finger on the pulse of what is congruent and what's out of congruence with us. All right. And like I said, and particularly in my message yesterday, your gift is you being in full alignment with your true, authentic core self. And that's going to be confronting to get there. You have to develop your sensitivity to things that are out of alignment. And you have to be willing to face that and not just face it, but eventually find comfort in it. And if you're anything like me on this journey, what terrifies me the most, what makes me feel most uncomfortable, is being blind to things that are out of congruence with me, because I know how fake that path can be. And I do not want to get to the end of my life being filled with regrets because I didn't live a life true to myself. I lived one in comfort, trying to just live in harmony with the external world, but having all this internal chaos within, right? Be willing to face a little chaos in your external world so that you can have a pure channel of harmony within you, right? That's where all of your power is. That is where your gift is. That's where your fulfillment is. And it's the gift that you have to give to the world to help them to tap into their own inspirations and their authenticity. So, all right, I just want to check in with you guys and definitely just be so grateful to each and every one of you guys for joining me and tuning into these messages. If you do find value in them, I would be forever grateful if you do share these messages with anybody in your lives that you want to grow with, right? That you want to bring into our Limitless Potential community and give that gift. So let me check in. I've got Javier. Always good to see you, my friend, from San Diego. I love it. And Sharon's here, and Dawn, yay, and Zaya, and Barry, and Bill. Yep, day 2 for me. Grateful to have you back, Bill. Thank you so much for showing up. And Barry, so glad you're posting great Facebook Lives once again. Barry, thank you so much. My purpose is to hopefully be of contribution, like I said. So I'm grateful that you're finding some greatness here, Barry, and so good to see you guys showing up. And Dawn, so good. Again, lesson number 2, always listening. Love that, Dawn. So grateful to have you here, beautiful soul. So that is my message for you guys today. I have 9 minutes to get the hell out of this hotel room. I'm just about to check out, and just had the best time down at this place in Geelong, which is down the coast here. And I'm going to go do some exploring. I'm staying at this place, which is basically in the botanical gardens here. So surrounded by nature and a little luxury, just like I like it. But I hope that you guys are giving yourself the gift of exploration, of adventure, of getting out of your home environment so that you can think and dream and be inspired in a different way, right? To shift your environment, to shift your level of consciousness so you can keep expanding and keep your finger on the pulse of your own congruence and deepening your awareness of what is in total alignment with you and what just simply isn't. So much love for each and every one of you guys, and I will see you tomorrow, as I promised. Much love.